every time, guilt and shame, and sometimes I like to get really into what those words mean, but just for the sake of time, they're basically tools of the ego to protect itself. So it's not wrong. Um, it's this natural way, just like our bodies, freeze, just like our bodies go into flight mode, just like our bodies fight, right? They're actually very natural ways that we protect ourselves and have, I mean, literally unconsciously, it has protected us in the past. The work now, right, given whatever it is that arises for you in your own moments, it's just that it's not useful now, right? It's not useful anymore. So the main thing around that kind of really actually, dissolves our ego and more like, because I really try to affirm that the ego isn't a bad thing, but it's just the ego is our conditioning, right? So we're also like deconditioning and unlearning a lot of the things and unraveling the ego. But a lot of you have done a lot of the unraveling. So I don't always like to just like hardcore focus on that, because part of it is also that, like Heidi, my friend and teacher Heidi Rose Robbins always says, like, an ego in service to the soul is unstoppable. And from my perspective, yeah, that's what I want. That's what I love when I see people doing. That's what I love when I do, It's like, yeah, it's like in service to that soul, right? So, but to the ways and to whatever extent it's not useful now, right? Or some aspects of this are not useful and want to be integrated into this reality that we're sharing now, right? Because when we get triggered, especially when the trauma vortex, remember the trauma vortex and the healing vortex we talked about in session one, um, and the difference, which is kind of sound, you can just, assume the difference by the way they sound. It's like that is the past arising in this moment to be healed, right? And curiosity will always help us to dissolve that in the moment, to be loved. It's not like dissolving the ego because it's bad, although I mean parts of my ego are like actually really bad, but yeah, I won't speak for anybody else, but it's like also, so it's like it's just hurting, it just needs to be loved, it just wants to be caught up to this moment now that we have, that is actually much more full and awake to love than it was yesterday or 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago or 30 years ago or 37 years ago, whatever. It's just like all, it's like that's part of why the somatic work really is like soul retrieval, because we're reclaiming these aspects that have just gotten like trapped and lost in these different moments, right? So